up, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to another episode of Between the Cons. My name is Chris, and with me today, MasterMind-rebo.
Excelsior!
Excelsior. Got a different intro every time we've tried to start this episode.
I gotta keep it fresh.
Which this is the third time?
Third time. Yep.
Yeah, my dog's been super annoying, and he's just been barking a lot.
My other phrases have been keep it shiny and...
Except you said, keep it shiny.
Keep it shiny!
This is like a super nerd.
Yeah, I can't remember the first one. It doesn't matter. This is the take we're going with.
Yes. But we've got a pineapple episode for you today. We're going to be hitting those headlines and delivering that nerdy news. But really quick before we get into that, thanks to everybody for hitting us up on the internet. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everybody following us on social. And then also everybody that's left a review on the iTunes store or the Google Play Store. Love for the Androids. Some love.
Yeah.
We're recording this on an iMac, so
yeah,
about as much love as you can get. But thank you either way. Like I said, pineapple episode hitting the news. Just deliver.
We're gonna have a pineapple situation. What should I do? Pineapple. The word that cannot be spoken. Pineapple.
Just want to say pineapple. If
Pineapples are fun. My dad used to throw them at me.
Pineapple.
Seriously? Wow.
All right, well, first up, once again, Disney, the mighty overload of all of our media, is said to be pulling its media from all streaming sites in order to create its own site. This is terrifying and distressing in many ways.
Yeah, and it's going to be 2019.
Yeah, 2019, so you got some time to watch.
It doesn't make sense. Like, they just signed that deal with Netflix.
Yeah, but obviously, I'm going to guess that it ends in 2019 because they're going to be pulling things. And this also, for all of you, nerdy jocks out there, includes ESPN. So they will be having their own website for ESPN, but based out of their main streaming site. So it's further perpetrating the goal of a monopoly on all things cool. So that's Star Wars, Marvel, ESPN, just about everything else that you know and love.
How does Disney own ESPN? That's the real question.
Money. Lots of money.
I know, but it's
we
so
keep
weird.
giving it to them on a regular
It's just
basis,
so
and they
weird.
invest it in things that we love, hence our problem. So, yeah, be prepared in 2019 for the change of all things Netflix.
What does ESPN even look like as a streaming service?
Well, I mean,
Does
just
that mean
imagine
everything's
watching
gonna be
all those
streamed?
games out there. You basically, it changes it because now you don't just have an app. You have to pay, Disney for the app or pay for Disney's streaming service, and they could regulate all the rules because ESPN really is the main streaming system for sports. Like, we all know ESPN. So,
Yeah, it's just weird.
yeah, agreed. And it's, who knows what they'll own by 2019. So, pineapple.
So the Flash movie, I don't remember if we actually talked about this, but the Flash getting his movie for the DCEU. They talked about it at Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, and they mentioned that it's going to be called Flashpoint. So safe to assume that it wasn't going to be a solo movie. If anybody out there is not familiar with the Flashpoint storyline, it has nothing to do with Siri. Way to go,
Oops.
Tori. But it's Flash goes back in the past and screws up the timeline.
Yeah,
for
without
that
any
kind of
big
stuff.
reveal, it's just saying he screws up the timeline.
Captain
and then,
Cold's a hero.
Yeah. And
Weird,
even
weird stuff. Batman's dead.
Yeah, or variations of all our superheroes that we know and love have changed just from one little event. So yeah, I'll be intrigued to see what they do with the movie because
I think it's interesting because we've seen somewhat of the Flashpoint storyline fleshed out in the CW's The Flash.
Sure. Yeah.
And then it's Flashpoint Paradox animated movie.
Yep.
From DC. So we've seen it in media a lot. So, but it's also probably one of the most iconic.
I was gonna say
Flash
for Flash
storylines.
That's
But it was safe to assume that it wasn't going to be a solo movie and more of this movie revolves around the Flash, but everybody else is there too.
And because even with the Flash, he's never been a good standalone hero. Like, he's fast, he's kind of... Well, if you think about all of his involvement...
I don't know.
I would say, like, it's more wrapped around the Justice League.
Yeah.
So even, like, with the CW series, The Flash, he's always interacting with other heroes. And, you know, the team-up is very popular right now. And especially with the launching of a Justice League movie, you're going to want to continue that, you know, as long as you have contracts with all those actors.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's going to be... I saw it compared to... Captain America Civil War,
Sure.
which was a Captain America movie,
Yeah.
starring Captain America,
But very much about everyone.
Very much about everyone.
Yeah.
So just kind of on that topic, Gal Gadot has been confirmed for surezies to return as Wonder Woman in the Flash's Flashpoint movie.
Yeah, well, based on the other Flashpoints, you know, she becomes just a kick-butt character.
Yeah.
In the Flashpoint series, where she's just a basic
Up at arms with Aquaman over
destroying
who
everyone
rules
that
the world.
opposes the Themyscira way. You know?
Well, it's everything. Like,
Yeah.
she basically comes to rule the land, and Aquaman rules the sea.
Yep.
And
Yep.
there's, like, fighting over territory
Yeah.
between Aquaman and Wonder Woman. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm really interested to see Gal Gadot kind of as a villain, because not her character's not exclusively a villain, but she's not a great person. And in the Wonder Woman movie, she was very much the hero, for sure.
Yeah.
But we'll give you guys some more information as details continue to drop on Flashpoint. But just wanted to bring that up because I didn't know if we had. Pineapple.
Well, Mia, jeez, Lapete. So Mia Jovovich joins the ranks of the new Hellboy movie.
Man, you just butchered that.
I
Mia Jovovich.
Thank you. Gosh, it's
Djokovic.
been one of those days, as many of you know.
She's on Ben Stiller's dodgeball team.
That's right. Basically, she's also like, wow. These are not our full-time jobs, and we love what we do, but long days happen. And all that to say, she's going to be joining the ranks of the
What's her name?
Mia
Jovovich.
Jovovich.
Gosh, The Fifth Element.
The Fifth Element is
Resident
fantastic.
Evil.
Resident Evil, all the Resident Evil movies.
She was in that one. Was it Aeon Flux, or was it the other
no,
one
she
that
wasn't
came out
in
at the
Flux.
same time?
It was the other one. No, she wasn't even Ultraviolet either. No, that was
She
her
was
in
Ultraviolet. That
She
was
was
it, yeah.
Ultraviolet. Yeah.
What are those two movies that are exactly the same?
Yeah,
that came out at the same time?
Yes. And that is the story of the late 90s and the early 2000s.
She was in Zoolander.
Oh, yeah.
Katinka.
Yeah, Katinka. But all that to say, going back to our pineapple point, you know, she will be in The Blood Queen. So
She will be the Blood Queen.
oh my gosh.
Or she will. No, the movie's called The Blood Queen.
The movie is
You're
called
right.
The Blood Queen.
Sorry, I'm
and
just like tearing everything you're saying apart right now.
And it's okay. It's all
Don't
right.
trust MasterMind-rebo. That's what we're learning right now.
So when you go back and obviously re-listen to all of our podcasts, because we know you do, just question everything I
you
say.
hear. Yeah.
So, and please then comment on what things I've gotten wrong throughout the past, because we
Like-
love your voice.
Like Mila Djokovic.
Djokovic. And since we know you're listening, Mia, I am so sorry.
Mila Djokovic.
Mila, we love you. So, pineapple.
Kind of in opposition of your first pineapple point,
Oh, sure.
Netflix has completed their first ever acquisition as a company.
Gotta love them.
How crazy is that, first of all?
Yeah.
Netflix is just now making their first ever acquisition.
Yeah.
What?
Well, and isn't
That's
that
crazy.
It's the craziest thing because, you know, if you think about it, they were pitching at the very beginning of Netflix, they're pitching themselves to Blockbuster. And
Yeah.
Blockbuster
Yeah.
turns them down because they're like, oh, this will never work. Like, people want to come to our stores.
And now there's one Blockbuster left.
And it's basically
Ever.
just a Twitter account that's just posting all these things.
Called
really,
The Last
look up the last Blockbuster.
Yes. It is a
And-
real thing. It's in like the middle of nowhere,
Yeah,
Texas.
yeah, it's fantastic. So, but going back to Netflix, they're now acquiring rights, and it just says like, good for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they've acquired Miller World, which is the comic book publishing company by Mark Miller.
Yeah.
Mark Miller, for those of you that are unfamiliar with the name, you're definitely familiar with the works. he actually wrote the Old Man Logan storyline.
Yep.
He wrote Kingsman: The Secret Service. He wrote Kick-Ass.
He's all over.
Yeah, he's all over the place.
You just didn't know it, but he is.
Yeah, and his comic book publishing company is now owned by Netflix.
Yeah.
And that includes titles like the Jupiter series, Jupiter Circle, Jupiter's Legacy, Superior, which is an excellent series, Starlight, Super Crooks, Empress, Huck, tons of great content. Netflix Chief Content Officer Ted Sarandos actually called Mark Miller a modern day Stan Lee, which kind of hurt my heart because it's like
sure
he is. Stan Lee's still alive.
Yeah.
So Stan Lee is the modern day Stan Lee.
Yeah, exactly. So.
But I get what he's saying from a content publishing standpoint and releasing new and exciting content within the comic book industry that honestly a lot of it is unmatched.
Yeah.
Like the Old Man Logan storyline. That storyline is outstanding, and for its time when it first came out, it was nothing we'd seen before.
Yep.
So it was really cool, and then Kick-Ass obviously being a very unique story.
Yep. And it's just showing again, like saying like we geeks, we nerd, we merry band have money.
We merry band.
And we're purchasing the things that we love. And when you get to someone like, Netflix, they're saying like, hey, I really like this guy's comic books. I'm going to buy him. Like,
right? Yeah. And I think that's really cool because when Disney moving on to their own platform in 2019.
Sure, yeah.
What does that mean for the future of the Defenders?
Yeah.
Like, Disney owns Marvel. Marvel makes shows on Netflix. Are they going to continue doing that?
They put their movies on Netflix.
Well, are they going to continue making content for Netflix?
From what I read, it sure didn't seem like they were.
Because I'll tell you right now, Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones for sure, is not going to exist on the same thing that has like old episodes to The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what that's going to look like. But Mark Miller actually said that it's the third time in history that a major comic book company has been purchased at this level. I'm so in love with what Netflix is doing and excited by their plans. Netflix is the future, and Miller World couldn't have a better home.
Yeah, and I love that. But, gosh, you just don't know.
Right.
When we just talked about the previous panel, just like we said, saying like, what will the future look like?
Right.
And obviously,
Disney has a lot of money.
Yeah, and Netflix is trying real hard. This almost seems like, when we take all this in context, almost like, is this the death throes of an amazing company? Saying like, well, not the death throes, but saying like a securing of the borders. Like saying like, we have to buy whatever we can because Disney is moving quickly.
Yeah, or even like, are they starting to see revenue drop? I mean, we've got so many streaming services now. I seriously doubt it. Yeah. Netflix is the one that everybody's going to.
Yeah.
It's like
how
the
many
Hulu.
people are really like paying for an account rather than logging in? We've
but
talked
it's
about
the
this
same.
all the time.
It's the same with Hulu.
Yeah.
Like, how many people do you know that have Netflix that also have Hulu?
They have
and
both.
how many people do you know that have Hulu but don't have Netflix?
Yeah.
So people are going to have Netflix before they have any other streaming service right now. But once Disney comes around, and if they offer a $9
Disney,
subscription,
if you're listening, just go ahead and call it Monopoly.
Yeah,
and
if they offer a $9 subscription and they're playing College Game Day, like ESPN College Game Day for no additional charge,
the masses that will flood to that. Like absolutely.
And then if they corner all of the Marvel movies, I mean, I'll get it.
Yeah.
I'll get it just for that. If they start making new content for Marvel shows, I'll get it.
Yeah.
But they have there's I don't want to say they're spread thin right now, but like they've got Gifted, which is kind of a Marvel property, coming out on Fox.
Oh yeah.
They've got Cloak and Dagger coming out on Freeform.
More Than Humans.
They've got The Inhumans coming out on ABC. They've got Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
So they're I don't want to say they're spread thin, but they're spread out.
They are spread out.
What is that going to mean for the future of those shows? Well, are those shows going to stop airing on their station and move to
I honestly, from what I could tell, I really think that's what they're going to do.
That's crazy.
And it's a huge platform play to just say, like, we're going to create this. And if you think about it, like, everyone from, like, toddler to whatever knows Disney. We've always known Disney. Yeah. And Disney is now just truly hopping into the media controlling game.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, past 10 years, let's say. But, like, even 5. But it's still just an impressive feat. And, you know, to even just announce something like that has to get companies like Netflix, Hulu, and other ones just quaking a little bit about their future.
Oh, for sure. I just want... I'm not a fan of Monopoly, but when it comes to streaming, I want a Monopoly.
I want it all in one place.
I want one service, and I want it to be a fair Monopoly. I want it to be a $9.99 Monopoly.
Yeah, and you know, the real problem, Chris, with monopolies is when they actually achieve monopolies, they don't have to give you a fair price.
Yeah, I know. But that's why I want it to be fair, because it's Disney.
Can we say, like, you know, go get your torrent drives and, like, just rip all these movies so that you can...
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So, secure your own borders.
Secure your own borders. But yeah, I think that's really interesting, acquiring, with Netflix acquiring Miller World. Yeah. I think it's really interesting to see what's going to happen for the future of streaming, honestly. Yeah. It looks like they're kind of padding their comic book pockets, just in case Disney's move on their own has a deeper meaning. Yeah. So we'll see how that pans out. Pineapple.
All right, folks. Well, an interesting pitch letter from George R.R. Martin, as we all know, the writer of the Game of Thrones series, as well as the hit, can I say any more securely, hit show Game of Thrones on HBO. But he had pitched his stories to a publishing company, and they kind of got brushed aside. But it was saying that there was a love interest between Jon Snow and Arya, and without without giving any details for the fools out there that have not caught up and are not watching the show yet, or just misguided. Yeah, really, they are struggling with their relationship throughout the entire series, and even towards the end of the series, Tyrion comes in and starts falling in love with Arya. And for those of you who are caught up, you could see how that would be a struggle, just for everybody. And now, as the pieces are connecting, you can see how it comes about. But really, it's just a random, fun factoid that we like to bring to you on Between the Cons, because really, it has no impact on today's storyline. But it's a fun fact, and it'll surprise none of you Game of Thrones fans to hear what might have been. Pineapple.
Wow, yeah. Please. I have nothing to say about George R.R. Martin. Not a Game of Thrones fan. Jonathan Hickman has let the cat out of the bag. Jonathan Hickman, for those of you that don't know, is a writer that has worked for Marvel. He's worked on Fantastic Four. And for a long time, it's kind of been assumed that we haven't seen a Fantastic Four title in print in a long time, just because Fox owns the rights and Marvel doesn't want to promote something in print for a film franchise that they don't own. Yep. And Jonathan Hickman has pretty much said, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Yeah. He said, I'm pretty sure it's public knowledge now. Yeah. That Marvel isn't publishing Fantastic Four because of the disagreement with Fox.
Yeah. Well, why would you give them fuel for the fodder? You know, or like fodder for the fuel.
It's so crazy to me, because the Fantastic Four was Marvel's first superhero team. Yeah. And it's just crazy to me to see, like, such an interesting team with such a great dynamic, with characters that were so involved. Like, even with Civil War, Mr. Fantastic
absolutely
was one of the primary characters.
Factors.
Yeah. And that was only a few years ago.
Infinity Stones. Yeah. For goodness sakes.
He was one of the Illuminati, and that was all only a few years ago. And to see, like, now there's nothing out there. Yeah. There's no Fantastic Four titles. Even licensing is difficult. Legendary, I've talked about Legendary.
When we talked with them.
Yeah, Fantastic Four, Jason Brenner.
Yes, thank you.
Fantastic Four is a title that was the first expansion pack that came out for Legendary. And once it went out of once they lost stock, it
Yeah.
went out of print.
Yep.
They didn't print it anymore because of licensing difficulties with Marvel. Because
You were saying, I think it was like $400 to get the box or
yeah,
something?
it was like you can find them on eBay for like $250 to $400.
Yeah.
But just recently, they've reattained the licensing, so they'll be releasing that again sometime this fall, which is super exciting. But it's just crazy to me that like such a popular team, such a popular group of heroes, and we haven't seen serialized like issues.
Yep.
We haven't seen issues of Fantastic Four in years,
Which is huge.
which is crazy to me.
Yeah.
And I love the Fantastic Four. I love their old comics. I love any time that they appear in somebody else's storylines. I like doing a crossover or something. I think it's great, and it's really sad to me
Yeah.
that Jonathan Hickman's news that it is true. Like they're not doing it because their butt hurt, basically.
Yep.
I definitely understand where Marvel's coming from. I definitely understand their stance.
Sure, but we're the ones that suffer as the fans.
Right.
You know,
but
it's
like
yeah.
it's petty,
It
honestly. For me, what it all
So
boils down
petty.
to is that it's petty.
Yeah.
They're still going to be making money off of it, even though they don't like. They're
It just comes down to another kind of like boys with their toys. You
Yeah,
know, it just
exactly.
it's a frustrating thing to just say, especially when it's on a corporate level.
Right.
You know, of just saying like, come on now, like you all have a lot of money. Can't you figure out a sum to just give it to Marvel, and then our worlds will be right?
Yeah.
So Fox, if you're listening, you know the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Just do it. Even though we just
You've
talked about
screwed it up
Disney as
too
an
many
overlord,
times.
like of all our media, just give them the Fantastic Four so we can have our series.
do what Sony do.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Sony's happy. They've got a lot of money.
They got a lot of money and a really high-ranked movie.
Yes. That's big.
The most important part, hands down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of a short point. I just wanted to bring it up. I think that sucks. Pineapple.
All right, folks. For all of you that are Star Wars fans, which we know you are many. You are an army.
You are many.
We love you. If I could lead you in the wars to come, I would. There is a leaked partial list for The Last Jedi's Force Friday. And as all of you know, there is a Force Friday out there that happens with each of these movies, telling you what toys you can spend all of your money in. And for the first time, Chris, I have a legitimate excuse to be buying Star Wars toys.
Yay!
With my little girl that is coming at the end of this year, I need to buying her, toys that are about strong women and, role models. And that includes Rey in Jedi training.
Exactly.
That's one of the toys that are on the leaked list. And then you've got Princess Leia, you've got all these things. And, if you want to, you've got Chewbacca with a porg, which is, the basically cute pig penguin creature that was launched, at the Star Wars convention. And, the big announcement, too, is also saying they're re-releasing Yoda toys, on this leaked Star Wars list. Because that just says to many of us saying, well, at least we're going to get some kind of Force flashback that has Yoda. Because why throw him in the toy list if he's not going to be a part of the movie?
Exactly.
So, what we can truly surmise from the list is not much, but it does really show us, who will not appear in this upcoming film of The Last Jedi. So,
Gosh, I hope he comes.
I know.
That would be so cool.
Can you imagine just saying we just have a bunch of amazing Force ghosts and Yoda happens to be one of them?
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad about it.
No, I wouldn't either. I'd probably still buy.
So we've got some set photos from Infinity War.
Hot diggity.
Yeah, super cool. Shot in New York, posted to Twitter. And it shows Spider-Man walking with a Doctor Strangeless cloak of levitation.
Which I just cannot wait to see the scenario that this arises in. It's just saying
Just hanging out with a cloak.
The cloak of levitation is clearly shown to have a personality of its own, as well as Spider-Man. And it's just that team up. To even call it that is so much fun in my heart.
Oh, yeah.
To say that we're going to have a Spider-Man Cloak of Levitation team up.
Well, the cool thing is that Joe Russo has stated that, yes, Doctor Strange and Spider-Man are gonna have like good chemistry
Yeah,
because
yeah.
they live in the same city.
Sure.
Like they're around each other. They're in proximity for each other.
Yeah.
I just think it's really funny that we're gonna kind of see that fleshed out with the cloak.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I would really hope it's not like adding Benedict Cumberbatch in post. Because that would be really dumb.
Really sad,
but I think it's really funny that it's just like, if you look at the picture, it's just like Spider-Man cloak, like giant red cloak, just walking down the street.
Yeah.
But it's really funny. I'm like you said, I'm really interested to see what the scenario is that
really
makes
just
that
saying,
happen.
Like, obviously, Spider-Man is in no real need of a cloak of levitation, but like,
Right.
you know, seeing them just kind of team up in the skies or whatever, I don't even know. Like, I'm all for it.
Yeah. But just wanted to point your direction to those set photos. We got some. And that one particularly is pretty funny. Pineapple.
All right. Well, director James Cameron has confirmed that Colonel Quaritch, Stephen Lang's character from the first movie, will be the main villain throughout all 4 of the upcoming Avatar films. Now, you'll probably recognize him as that scarred, tough colonel out there in the first movie. And the really interesting thing about him being in all 4 of the sequels is that he's dead. He's dead. He presumed dead.
He did.
In that first movie. And, you know, but for all of us sci-fi fans, like, we get it. Death is such a trivial thing in the sci-fi world. It really holds no grasp.
What are death?
Yeah, death mean what? So, yeah. Obviously, you're going to have to be waiting a long time for all 4 of those movies, and maybe things change. But as of right now, James Cameron, in all of his wisdom, has confirmed that Stephen Lang characters is going to be the main bad guy.
Which is weird.
Pineapple.
So we talked in the roundtable on Monday about the Dark Tower TV show that's been hinted at that we're going to be getting. It hasn't been hinted at. It flat out said.
I was going to say.
Yeah, that we're going to get a TV show, but with the lack of success for the movie, from a critic standpoint.
Yes.
Made $19 million in its opening weekend,
which is fantastic.
Not shabby.
Yeah.
But not sitting real high with.
Sure, it's no Star Wars. It's
with
no
like
Avengers.
19% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
But Sony decided to survey viewers as they were coming out of the theater to see if the interest was there to watch a Dark Tower TV show.
Sure.
Because one of the biggest things, one of the biggest critiques of the movie is that there was a lot that was underdeveloped. Pretty much the whole thing was underdeveloped. The world of Midworld, and how that relates to Keystone Earth, as well as the history and the backstory, really, of Roland Deschain, the gunslinger.
Yep.
And why he's on this quest to save the Dark Tower, why the Man in Black is so terrible, Walter O'Dim. So it's very, very weird. But Sony surveyed after the movie, and 83% of viewers said that they would be interested in seeing a TV show, whether they liked the movie or not.
I was going to say, and that makes so much sense if you think about today's streaming viewers.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you just, any streaming site, we don't care. Like, you know, I've watched shows that I have no true business doing,
I watch
and
Orange
binge
is
them.
the New Black.
I haven't gone that far yet into my world, but it's just saying, like, yeah, you just pop in and you pop out. And it's just saying, like, to say, like, to anyone that, like, oh, yeah, I'd be willing to watch a TV series and that, it's like, sure, I'd be willing to put ketchup on my hamburger. It's just, like, it doesn't mean much.
Right.
So,
yeah, but I think that
it's cool.
I think that it's great news, because I would really like to see a TV show based on the Dark Tower, especially the information that we
develop everything out of a series,
and the information that we've been given. I mean, I even said I want to see, when we first found out that the Dark Tower was going to be a movie. I even said I want to see it as a series instead, because I think it'd be really cool to see through the story too. Like, even if it was a 2.5-hour movie, there's still so much story that Stephen King, and so much world that Stephen King has built, that it's almost a bastardization to make it a TV show.
And well, even if you think
or
about
to make it a movie,
yeah, but a good comparison would be, say, the Daredevil movie, which, you know, And then the Daredevil series.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a whole series where you can develop this story, and this is the same with the Dark Tower. You've just got more time, and you don't have to rush things.
Yeah,
So-
and the show, like, we know is going to be based on Roland Deschain's past.
Yeah.
How he became a gunslinger,
Yep.
his first confrontation with the Man in Black. It's going to draw from book 4 and book 1, Wizard and Glass and the Gunslinger, respectively. So I think that's really cool. It'll probably do some flash forward. But interestingly enough, it's going to be helmed by Glenn Mazzara.
Oh, nice.
Glenn Mazzara.
Well, names are tricky.
Mila Djokovic. Djokovic.
Glenn Mazzara.
But,
Zanzibarbarians.
yeah, he was a producer for The Walking Dead. He produced some of The Shield. He produced Criminal Minds.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he produces a lot of TV.
Yeah.
So he's going to be helming this one, producing this show as well. I think it's going to be really cool. We don't have a whole lot of details about it other than what I just said.
Sure.
But I think it'll be really neat, especially to see what they started as a movie.
Yeah.
To kind of become
So
more
much
full.
more. Yeah.
More full through a TV show. I think that's going to be really
More
cool.
full. Very eloquent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
Yeah,
Still,
we'll let you know as we know.
hopefully it's not a 19 on Rotten Tomatoes. That's all I'm saying.
Lordy.
Pineapple. And that is it for the show. We made it all the way through.
Woohoo!
If you guys are interested in sponsoring the show, you know how to do it. Check out Patreon, Satchel, Amazon. Put any of those 3 words after betweenthecons.com, and it'll take you there. Speaking of, check out betweenthecons.com where you can check out all of our episodes. You can stream online. You can link out to our social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitters, all the places. If you like our theme music, check out Afixa. He's on Bandcamp. Go to betweenthecons.com/Bandcamp.
There you go.
And finally, make sure you guys subscribe. We release new content every Monday, every Thursday. It's a great time all the time.
Yep.
And you don't want to miss out. So subscribe, tune in on Monday. We'll be back. But in the meantime, have a great weekend.
Go get it, fellas. Not French.
You're welcome.